The rain did not fall gently that night. It attacked. Each drop struck Nia's skin like a cold needle, slipping through the thin cotton of her waitress uniform until fabric clung to her body as if it wanted warmth she could not give it. The city's neon lights smeared across wet pavement, stretching into warp reflections that wavered every time her vision blurred. She couldn't remember how long she had been walking, minutes or hours. Her fever made time meaningless. "Just a few more blocks," she whispered, though the thunder swallowed her voice before it traveled even a foot away. Home. The word sounded comforting in theory. In truth, it meant a one-room apartment above a laundromat where the dryers never stopped rumbling and the pipes screamed every morning at 5. The heater failed more often than it worked, and the refrigerator hummed louder than the traffic outside. But it was hers. Or at least it would be, until rent came due again. Her sneakers slipped on slick pavement. She caught a street lamp before collapsing, the metal icy against her burning palm. Her lungs hurt when she breathed. The infection had settled deep, and the clinic's prescription might as well have been written in gold. Completely unaffordable after missing 3 shifts. "Don't come back until you're not contagious." Her manager's voice replayed in her mind. 3 days without work meant 3 days without pay. 3 days without pay meant no antibiotics. No antibiotics meant. She didn't finish the thought. A car sped past and splashed filthy water across her legs. She barely reacted. Energy was a luxury she no longer had. Then she saw it. A black car idling at the intersection. Not just expensive, deliberate, quiet, watching. Its tinted windows reflected nothing back. Her stomach tightened. In this part of the city, cars like that never brought help. She turned down a side street. The engine followed. Slowly. Not chasing, tracking. Her heart raced, pushing heat into her already burning body. She tried to walk faster. The world tilted violently, darkness pressing into the edges of her sight. The last thing she saw before collapsing was the rear door opening beside her. Then warmth. She woke to the sensation of leather beneath her cheek and a low hum vibrating through her bones. For a moment she thought she was dreaming. Then panic hit. She wasn't outside anymore. She was inside the car. The interior was larger than her entire apartment, dimly lit, smelling faintly of sandalwood and something sharper, clean and expensive. A glass partition separated her from the driver. Across from her sat a man dressed entirely in black. He did not look surprised that she had woken. "You're safe now." His voice was calm, deep controlled, not comforting, commanding. She pushed herself upright, instantly regretting it as dizziness crushed down on her skull. "Don't move," he said gently. "Your fever is severe." "My home," she rasped. He studied her face like she was something rare he'd been searching for a long time. "My doctor is waiting for us." Us. Not a suggestion. A decision already made. "I don't need." Nia Okeke, 22, waitress at Bellini's. Lives alone. No family in the city. The cold that rushed through her had nothing to do with illness. "How do you know my name?" His gaze did not shift. "I'm making my business to know what happens in my territory." Territory. The word struck harder than the information. Realization crept in slowly. Kitchen whispers, warnings about certain customers, the staff falling silent when black-suited men entered. Her throat tightened. "Mr. Calm." A faint flicker across his eyes. "Call me Jason." He reached forward, placing the back of his hand against her forehead. His skin was cool, controlled, steady in a way that made her feel strangely anchored. "You will not survive the night outside. I need to go home." His jaw tightened almost invisibly. "Your apartment is currently being watched by men who intend to harm you." Her fevered mind struggled to understand. Why would anyone? Instead of answering, he handed her water and tablets. She hesitated. "If I wish you harm," he said quietly, "I would not need poison." She believed him. She hated that she believed him. She swallowed the pills. He watched her the entire time, not predatory, not kind, something far more focused. "Why help me?" she asked. A pause. "Because you are mine to protect." Her pulse stuttered. "I don't belong to anyone." A hint of something, approval, amusement. touched his expression. Not yet. Gates opened ahead of them. The mansion beyond them did not look real. Stone and glass stretched across manicured grounds glowing under rainfall. Guards standing like statues beneath the entrance lights. Panic surged back into her chest. I can't stay here. The man your father stole from us found the city, Jason said calmly. If you return home, you will die before morning. Her breath left her. My father is gone. Men like him are never gone. The car door opened. Rain-cooled air rushed in. You have two choices, he said. Walk inside willingly or be carried. She looked at the mansion, then back at him. Her life had already changed the moment she entered the car. I'll walk. She stood, and immediately collapsed into his arms. He caught her effortlessly. I know you can walk, he murmured near her ear, but you don't have to anymore. As he carried her through the doors, she realized something terrifying. She no longer felt the cold. Morning sunlight woke her gently. She lay in a bed softer than anything she had ever known, wrapped in silk she didn't own. The fever was gone. The room was enormous, elegant, silent. A note waited beside water and medicine. Take these when you wake. Do not leave the room. Jay. She checked the door. Locked. Prison, then a beautiful one. After showering, she stepped back into the bedroom and froze. Jason sat by the fireplace, reading. He looked up slowly. You're better. It wasn't a question. Anger flickered through her exhaustion. Most kidnappers are nicer. He stood. I saved your life. And locked me in a room. Protection. Without consent. He moved closer. Some connections, he said quietly. Do not wait for permission. She held her ground despite her racing pulse. Why me? He studied her face, carefully, almost reverently. Because your father stole $10 million from my syndicate, he said, and you were the only way to make him return. The world tilted again, this time without fever. Leverage, she whispered. His expression did not change. Yes. He stepped back toward the door. Get dressed. We discuss your future at breakfast. The door closed behind him, unlocked now, but she understood. She was not free. Not anymore. And some part of her already knew walking away from Jason calm would be far harder than escaping his house. Breakfast was already waiting when Nia stepped onto the terrace. Sunlight spilled across polished stone, warming the air just enough to erase the memory of last night's storm. The city skyline stretched beyond the gardens, distant, unreachable, like a different life she had lived only yesterday. Jason Kong stood beside the table, pouring coffee into a porcelain cup. He looked perfectly composed, as if men hadn't been hunting her less than 12 hours ago, as if she hadn't woken inside a criminal empire. Sit, he said calmly. She remained standing. You brought me here to talk, she replied. So talk. His eyes lifted to meet hers, dark, focused, measuring. For a moment, neither moved. Then he placed the coffee down and pulled out the chair across from him. Very well. She sat slowly, refusing to show how aware she was of the guards surrounding the terrace. Far enough to pretend privacy, close enough to remind her she had none. Jason folded his hands together on the table. 5 years ago, he began, your father was responsible for managing the financial records of several businesses under my protection. Protection, she repeated quietly. You mean owned? A faint hint of approval flickered in his gaze. Smart, he said. Yes, owned. She waited. He created shell accounts over 8 months. Small transfers, invisible individually, devastating collectively. How much? $10,322,000. Her throat tightened. That's impossible. It happened. My father barely managed his own life. Jason leaned slightly forward. Your father managed numbers better than most governments. Silence settled between them. The breeze moved gently through the gardens, rustling leaves that cost more than her yearly rent. Why am I still alive? She asked finally. His expression didn't change. Because killing you would not bring him back. And keeping me does? Yes. No hesitation. No apology. Just truth. She exhaled slowly. You think he cares enough to come for me? Jason studied her carefully before answering. I know he does. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the table. You don't know him. I know patterns, he replied. Men who steal for greed disappear. Men who steal for family watch from a distance. Her heart skipped once. Jason saw it. Every payment he sent you, he continued quietly, was from the stolen accounts. Always routed differently. Always untraceable, except emotionally. She swallowed. He never stopped watching you. The words landed heavier than the accusation. She didn't want to believe it, but she couldn't ignore it either. And the other men, she asked, the ones outside my apartment? Jason's jaw hardened. Volkov Bratva. The name sounded like rusted metal scraping bone. They lost money because of your father. They believe you lead to him. And you don't. I believe you lead him to us both. She leaned back in her chair. So I'm bait. His gaze sharpened. You're under my protection. Same thing. For the first time, irritation flickered across his features. No, he said evenly. Bait dies when used. You will not. The certainty in his voice unsettled her more than any threat could have. She pushed her plate away untouched. What happens now? Jason rose from his chair. You stay here. For how long? Until your father makes contact. And if he never does? His eyes held hers. Then I keep you safe anyway. Her pulse stumbled again. That wasn't part of the deal. I never offered a deal, he said softly. I offer protection. He stepped closer to the edge of the terrace, overlooking the grounds. You are free inside these walls, he continued. You may go anywhere except beyond the gates. That's not freedom. It is survival. She stood abruptly. I won't be a prisoner. Jason turned back to her. For a moment, the calm Mafia leader disappeared, replaced by something sharper, personal. You were already one, he said quietly. You just didn't know whose cage you were in. The statement lingered between them. Before she could respond, a guard approached quickly. Sir, Jason didn't look away from Nia. Report. Signal intercepted. External burner phone attempted contact with Miss Okeke's number. Nia's heart stopped. Jason's gaze darkened. Trace. Failed. Short ping. Very professional. Jason nodded once. It begins. He turned to her. Your father is alive. Her hands trembled despite herself. How do you know it was him? Jason's voice lowered. Because only one man in the city would risk revealing you to find you. He stepped closer. And now he knows exactly where you are. Fear and relief collided violently inside her chest. Jason studied her face. Every emotion visible. I gave you honesty, he said quietly. Now I ask for trust. She searched his eyes. Danger lived there, but so did certainty. What do you need me to do? She asked softly. For the first time since she met him, Jason Kong smiled. Jason did not answer immediately. Instead, he dismissed the guards with a subtle motion of his fingers. The terrace emptied until only the two of them remained, the morning quiet broken only by distant city noise and the soft ripple of the fountain below. Nia felt it then, the shift. This was no longer a negotiation between a criminal and a hostage. This was strategy. He pulled a slim phone from his pocket and placed it gently on the table between them. He will call again, Jason said. But next time you answer, her stomach tightened. And say what? The truth, he replied calmly. That you are safe, that you are with me, and that he must meet. Her eyes widened. You want me to lure him? I want you to give him a choice. She shook her head. You don't understand. If he ran, he had a reason. He won't walk into danger. Jason leaned slightly closer. He already is. The moment he contacted you, he entered my world again. The certainty in his voice was absolute. Not arrogant, not hopeful. Certain. She hated how steady it made her feel. If something happens to him. You asked me to try to keep him alive. Jason interrupted quietly. I agreed. My word stands. His eyes held hers, unwavering. For a long moment she said nothing. Finally, okay, she whispered. Jason nodded once, as though he had expected no other answer. They waited inside his office. The room contrasted the rest of the mansion. Darker, private, lined with shelves of paper records instead of decorative art. Maps covered one wall, marked in precise ink and pens. A war room disguised as a study. Nia sat on the leather couch, staring at the phone resting on the desk. Minutes passed. Then it vibrated. Her breath caught. Jason didn't touch it. He only looked at her. Answer. Speaker on. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She pressed accept. Silence. Then breathing. Familiar breathing. Nia? Her chest tightened painfully. Dad. A sharp inhale came from the other end. Relief mixed with fear. Where are you? Are you hurt? I told you to leave the city months ago. She glanced at Jason. He stood perfectly still beside the desk, eyes focused only on her, giving no instruction, trusting her to follow through. I'm safe, she said slowly. I'm with Jason Kong. The line went dead silent. For 3 full seconds there was nothing. Then a whisper. Oh, God. Her father's voice lost all color. They found you. No, she said softly. He saved me. Jason's gaze flickered slightly. Dad, they're hunting me. Russians. He says they want you. Heavy breathing returned. Then the sound of something breaking, perhaps glass, far away on the call. Listen to me, Marcus said urgently. You must not trust him. Jason remained motionless. Nia swallowed. He wants to meet. Another long silence. When her father spoke again, the fear was gone. Only resignation remained. Then it's time, he said quietly. I'll come. Alone. Her heart pounded. Dad. I'm sorry, baby girl. The call ended. Nia lowered the phone slowly. Her hands shook. Jason stepped closer. He agreed, she whispered. Yes, he said softly. She looked up at him, searching his face. What happens now? Jason's expression hardened, not cruel but resolute. A man stepping into a past he had waited years to face. Now, he said, we prepare for war. Night returned like an omen. The mansion no longer felt silent. It felt armed. Men moved with purpose through hallways, voices low into radios, vehicles arriving beyond the gates. Nia watched from the balcony as black cars lined the driveway one by one. Preparation, not panic. Jason stood in the courtyard below, issuing orders with calm precision. No raised voice. No wasted motion. A general before battle. She had never seen him like this in daylight. Stripped of charm, stripped of softness. Only control remained. A knock came at her door. Miss Okeke, a guard said. He's ready for you. The underground garage had been cleared except for one vehicle. Jason waited beside it, not in a suit this time. Black coat, black gloves, a gun holstered openly at his side. He looked at her once, carefully. You don't have to come, he said. She shook her head. If he's risking his life, I'm going. A pause. Then he opened the passenger door for her. They drove beyond the city. Industrial outskirts. Empty warehouses. Sodium lights flickering in the distance. The car stopped in an abandoned shipping yard near the water. Cold wind carried salt and rust through the air. Jason's men spread outward immediately, invisible but present. He opened her door. Stay beside me, he said quietly. She did. Minutes passed. Then headlights appeared. A single van rolled slowly into the yard and stopped 30 meters away. The engine cut. The door opened. A man stepped out, older than she remembered, thinner, hair streaked gray. But the posture, protective even now, hadn't changed. Dad, he saw her and exhaled like he'd been drowning for 5 years. Then his eyes moved to Jason and hardened instantly. Kong. Jason's voice remained level. Marcus. They stood facing each other across history. Neither had forgotten. Nia stepped forward instinctively, but Jason's hand closed gently around her wrist, not restraining, anchoring. You're safe, Marcus told her quickly. Come here. Jason didn't move. Neither did she. No, she said softly. We finished this. Marcus studied her, then nodded once. Pride flickered through the fear. Jason spoke first. 10 million, he said, and the accounts connected to it. Marcus gave a faint, humorless smile. You're still efficient. You're still alive. I allowed that. Silence stretched. Then Marcus reached slowly into his coat, guns raised instantly across the yard. He froze. Easy, he said, removing only a small drive. He tossed it onto the pavement between them. Everything, every transaction, every name involved, including the Russians you're about to have a problem with. Jason didn't pick it up yet. Why return now? Marcus looked at Nia. Because they found her. Truth. Simple and absolute. Jason finally stepped forward and retrieved the drive. Before anyone could breathe, gunfire exploded from the darkness. Floodlights ignited across the yard. Dozens of armed men emerged from surrounding containers. Russian voices shouted orders. Ambush! Jason pulled Nia behind him instantly as bullets tore metal apart around them. His men responded just as fast. Controlled bursts, precise movements. Chaos erupted. Marcus grabbed Nia's arm, shielding her behind a crate, while Jason fired methodically toward advancing figures. They tracked me, Marcus said grimly. I led them here. Jason didn't look back. No, he replied calmly over gunfire. I expected them. He turned briefly to Nia. Even now, in violence, his voice stayed steady. Stay down. She realized then, this meeting was never just negotiation. It was a trap, for everyone. And tonight, only one side would leave alive. Gunfire echoed across steel and water. Nia pressed against the cold crate, hands over her ears, every breath sharp with metal and smoke. The world had narrowed to flashes of light, and the steady rhythm of shots fired with terrifying precision. Jason did not fire wildly. He advanced, each movement calculated, pulling his men into positions that slowly folded the ambush inward. The Russians had numbers, but not control, not preparation, not him. Marcus crouched beside her, shaking slightly but alert. I tried to keep you out of this, he said hoarsely. You failed, she whispered, not accusing, only stating the truth. Another burst of gunfire erupted closer. A bullet struck the crate above them, spraying sparks. Jason's voice cut through the chaos. Nia! She looked up. He stood 20 feet away, one hand extended toward her, the other still holding his weapon steady toward advancing shadows. For a moment the battle faded around them. Choice. Her father beside her, her past. Jason in front of her, her future she never asked for but could no longer deny. Marcus saw it too. His expression softened with something like relief. Go, he said quietly. She shook her head. I won't leave you. He smiled faintly. You already did, the night you survived without me. Another explosion sounded across the yard. Jason's men disabling a vehicle, attempting escape. Marcus placed a small object in her hand, a worn keychain she hadn't seen since childhood. I stole to disappear, he said, but I watched you stay alive. Her eyes filled. I'm tired of running. He stood before she could stop him and stepped into the open, hands raised. Enough! Marcus shouted into the chaos. For a split second, hesitation spread. Jason's men paused. The Russians adjusted aim. Jason lowered his weapon slightly, reading what Marcus intended before anyone else. Take the deal, Marcus called to him. The accounts, the names, the routes. End it. A Russian gunman fired. Jason moved faster than thought, pulling Nia down as the shot rang out. Marcus fell. The yard erupted again, but it was over quickly after that. Without leverage, without surprise, the remaining attackers retreated or were captured within minutes. Silence returned in fragments. First the guns, then the shouting, then the wind alone. Nia crawled to her father. He was still breathing. Jason knelt beside them, pressing cloth to the wound, his calm unbroken even now. Stay with me, Nia whispered. Marcus looked between them and understood everything he needed to. I chose wrong men, he murmured, but you chose a strong one. His hand weakly grasped Jason's sleeve. Keep her out of this world. Jason held his gaze. Solemn. I will give her a choice, he said quietly. Marcus nodded once. Then his grip loosened. Dawn crept over the water hours later. The police would find a different story waiting for them. They always did when syndicates cleaned battlefields before sunrise. Nia stood near the shoreline, wrapped in Jason's coat, watching pale light break across the horizon. He approached slowly, stopping beside her without touching. "It's over," he said. She didn't answer immediately. "You kept your word," she said finally. "Yes. And now?" Jason looked toward the city, toward power, territory, responsibility waiting for him again. "Now you decide," he replied. "You can leave. New identity, new life. No one will follow you." She turned to him. "For the first time, it's actually my choice?" He nodded. No persuasion, no command, only truth. She studied him, the man who had entered her life like a storm and stayed like shelter. "Then I choose," she said softly. She stepped closer and took his hand herself. "Not the world you live in." His expression tightened slightly, acceptance of loss already forming. "You," she finished. For the first time since she met him, Jason Kong looked unguarded. Not a boss, not a weapon, not a legend whispered in kitchens. Just a man who had waited years for something he never expected to receive freely. He pulled her gently into his arms as the sun rose fully behind them. The rain had brought her to him. Choice made her stay. And for the first time, neither of them belonged to the past anymore.